Welcome back here in another video, and in this video Jaala and I will be giving you some tips on how to perform at your best on any workout. So again, this is Jaala Thibualt. You have met her in the previous video. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to go and check it. So for this video, it's gonna be lesson learned from the Open 2017. I have done all the workouts at least twice. One of the workouts I did it 3 times. I didn't tell you that.
Undead?
Yeah, the snatches.
I didn't know. Don't do it 3 times.
Every time I tried different strategy. Doing this video just to put it all out for you for any workout that you'd like to excel in and have a very good score. And I'm gonna start with the tip number 1, which is the body prep and warm up.
Yeah, so we wanted to tell you that there's a few things that you should do when you're warming up, whether it's competition that's serious or you're just trying to get your best time. So generally I suggest doing something that's quick, 3 to 5 minutes to get your blood moving, whether it's assault bike or rowing or running. Just get the blood flowing. As soon as you're done getting your body a little bit warmed up, I suggest moving on to mobility. So some kind of foam rolling or lacrosse ball. After that, I would do a dynamic range of motion warm up. Anything that feels tight or sticky, I would work on loosening up that part.
Yeah, and as she said, make it dynamic. Don't try to go for static or long stretches because this is going to relax your muscles even more. We don't want you to be relaxed, we want you to be hyper and active. Moving from the general warm-up, we're going into more specific warm-up. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. Depending on what kind of movements are in the workout, I would stick to the movements that you're least good at. So, for example, in the snatch workout in the open, I worked up to a heavy 1-rep max snatch before I even started the workout. So I was getting my central nervous system stimulated with the lift that I knew was going to be the most difficult. So I knew that the last round was going to be close to my max snatch. So I warmed up a very heavy snatch and got above the last round. I actually got a PR in my snatch before the workout even started, so I was really happy about that.
Yeah, we're just gonna, as she said, awaken your nervous system and make sure that later on when you come back to the workout, because you already did a snatch or a thruster or whatever the move is at a heavier weight, so when you come back to the workout, it's gonna feel a lot easier and lighter with the weight. I do that with the same, especially on the thrusters. Right. Usually the thrusters, for now, it's coming at 95 in the open pounds. I like to warm up to 135.
Right.
So when I go back to 95, it's gonna feel a lot lighter.
Right, we also did mini rounds, so we would just mimic whatever the rep scheme was in the workout and do a few mini rounds of the same rep scheme and weight just to see how it goes.
So moving on to tip number 2 now, in 2, which is going to be the sets and reps.
Yeah, so when you're planning your strategy for an open workout or for a competition workout, you want to plan a strategy where you have manageable sets or manageable reps. I would test out what you think the time domain is going to be. So break up things in a way that you're not going to like a max effort and dying. And you know you can do it over the whole time domain of the workout. I'd also have a backup plan. So when you're breaking things into sets and reps, if it doesn't go that way, then be okay with it and keep on moving forward even if your first plan doesn't work.
If you know, for example, if you have 8 trips of dumbbell cleans like in the last open, if you know that this is going to be hard for you, just divide them into reps, and you have tested that in the mini rounds that you did in the warm-up. So the 8, you don't have to do them all 8 like non-stop. You could divide them into 4 and 4 or 3, 3, 2 according to your capacity and your capabilities. And this is really important to avoid fatiguing and redlining. We're going to talk about it again.
Okay, so tip 2 and 3 go hand in hand. Tip 3 is to set your goal in a manageable time frame, and Saif's going to talk a little bit more about that.
That's actually what I did in the open to make sure that I have a time frame that's set for me. I have tested the moves in the warm-up, so I know how much time it's going to take me to complete 1 rep or 1 round. So I would calculate that and set like a time frame, like by that time I want to be done by the first round, by that time I'm going to be done by the second round, and just to have them in front of me on a board or on the floor or anywhere, just for me as a reference to make sure that I'm in the same speed that I need to be. And when you're calculating these times, make sure that to time yourself in the reps at a steady pace. Don't time yourself when you're like at 100%, so it's gonna like mimic your time or your movement inside the workout itself. And make sure to add some buffer time, like 5 to 10 seconds every time to every round, just because you're gonna need rest anywhere.
So tip number 4, both Saif and I will talk about it, it's consistent breathing patterns. So one of the things that I see athletes do that makes them kind of fall off their pace is breathing too hard. And right when you're working out, sometimes you can't handle the pace that you set for yourself and you have to take a minute to get your breath back. So we suggest that you don't lose your breath at all. You start with a good breathing pattern and you try to maintain it through the whole workout. Saif's gonna talk about how to breathe and when to breathe while you're lifting too.
Which is, as she said, breathing pattern. So it's a pattern, so it needs to be consistent and happening the same time every time in each rep. So for example, if I have a move, at any move, make sure that you take the breath in or inhale when you're pausing in the move, or when you're going with the eccentric phase, which is when you're going like with the gravity, and to make sure to exhale when you're going against the gravity. So for example, if the move is a thruster, as you're going from the bottom of squat all the way up, make sure to exhale, and you can like have your breath when you're in the front rack position before you move into the next rep. This is gonna help like build a better connection between your muscles and the oxygen flow into your body. So the muscles would know when the oxygen is coming, every time it's coming at the same time, and that won't confuse your body. So it's gonna help like maintain your muscles for a longer period of time. And since you have a judge for you at any competition to count for you, and he's counting the reps, so I would suggest that you don't focus on counting the reps, just keep moving until you're done, until he tells you to stop. And only focus on your breath. So moving on to tip number 5, which is to avoid redlining.
So what is redlining? Redlining is when your body releases a lot of lactic acid into your system to try to relieve your muscles from the pain that you're causing. Redlining happens when your heart rate moves above a threshold of usually like 80%, depending on who you are, right? You know you're redlining when you can't breathe and when your muscles start feeling burning sensations, right?
Yeah.
And you have to stop and slow down. So in order to avoid redlining in a competition, it takes a lot of time, maybe years sometimes, to figure out what your correct percentages are. And a way that we avoid redlining is train at this 80% heart rate in workouts. So one of the things I suggest is always start a little bit slower than you think you should. So when I do open workouts, I tend to get left behind in the dust, but I maintain my 80% over the whole workout, and I end up going a lot faster, than a lot of people, just because I'm old. I'm 38 and I have a lot of experience with endurance work, so I don't get too excited with my adrenaline though. But if you haven't been training in that way, then I would say start slower than you think you should, and then you can move faster and faster as the workout goes on.
Here's a couple of tips like to tell you how to find that. So at 80%, you will be like if someone is talking to you, and that's what you told me, you're going to be able to talk, but you don't want to talk because you're still maintaining a regular breath. And to make sure that you're not redlining, redlining happens when you start like pushing yourself too much, then you're gonna lose coordination because it's too much pressure on the nervous system, and you start losing focus and everything. So if you see yourself that you started to trip on a double under, or you started to fall on a box jump, then it means that you're pushing yourself too much. Then slow the movement a little bit down and take it back to a more comfortable and steady pace. Remember, 80% is the optimal for you to take you from nowhere into winning the workout. If you're below, if you're about 40 or 60%, that's not gonna take you anywhere. And if you're above 80%, almost about 90, that's gonna be also too much. You're gonna be redlining, and you're gonna be fast at the beginning, but you're gonna be really slow at the end. Moving on to tip number 6, which is find your rest movement and find your challenging movement. So Jaala's going to talk to us about that.
Yeah, as you warm up, you'll know which movements you're good at and which movements you're not so good at. So on the movement that you're really good at, I would take the deepest breaths and move at a steady 80% effort and use that movement as recovery. On the hard movements, I would break them into small sets. So for example, on the dumbbell snatch and burpee box jump workout, I know it's crazy, but burpee box jumps are a rest for me. So I would break the dumbbell snatches into usually half of the amount that we were supposed to do. I'd take a short rest, and on the burpee box jumps, I would just keep on going and breathe. So I would say use the easy movement for your active rest and break the hard movement into smaller sets.
So moving on to tip number 7, which is sprint at last. So you've paced yourself and now the workout is almost done, so it's time for you to sprint. What can they do?
I think this is a very good tip, Safe. So if you've been pacing and the workout's coming to an end, this is the time to not get messy, but get a little messy. So we want you to be going as hard as you can at the end and really push yourself to that red line because it's almost over. It depends on who you are. For some people, it'll be the last 2 minutes. For some people, it'll be the last 20 seconds. But try to push yourself as hard as you can at the end.
Trust me, this is where lots of change happens. You could be the last person in the workout, but if you sprint in the last few seconds, like minute and a half, it would get you into winning sometimes. Moving on to tip number 8, which is be efficient.
So we want your body in the proper position and we want the apparatus that you're using in a good position too. So for example, if you have an extra jump at the end of wall balls or thruster, that powerful hip extension is a little bit unnecessary and you're going to use too much energy. So we want your feet on the ground. If you don't need that extra push to get the wall ball higher or that extra jump to push the thruster over your head, don't do it. So movement efficiency makes any workout much easier, and that's when the 80% comes into play, because once you go past that 80%, I say you become wiggly. So wiggly means maybe you're losing your midline or tripping on the box, and we don't want you to do that. Losing efficiency means losing time. If you miss a double under, you have to start again. That's like 10 seconds. It could be 5 double unders.
Yeah.
If your grip is getting tired on the thruster and you have to drop it, dropping it to the ground and re-racking takes another 10 seconds. So efficiency and working at that 80% effort is gonna help you get a better time, right?
True, remember that these moves are designed for your body to be in the best mechanics, so make sure to practice through the entire year or before the competition time with good mechanics, because if you don't practice it during that time, it won't happen suddenly in the competition.
Yes.
Most importantly, safety. So you're going to be in a much more safer position, no risk on your joints or muscles. So moving on to tip number 9, which is don't get no ripped.
We know about this, right? So getting no ripped means you do a movement like halfway or almost and it doesn't count. So I think the first time you tried the snatch workout, you got no repped a few times on that 135, and then you had to redo those reps. Not only does it contribute to muscle fatigue, but it adds a lot of seconds to your time. So taking the right amount of rest to get your central nervous system a little more relaxed and then hitting that lift and not getting no repped is gonna save you time, right?
Yeah, and that's for like technical movements like the snatches. So make sure how much time you need to rest before that, before you go into the attempt, just to make sure that you're gonna attempt and hit the rep and not fail the rep.
Yes.
On another hand, for like movement that are less technical, just make sure that you cover the full range of motion or the full standards of the move. So for example, if it's a thruster, make sure that you lock your joints all the time in every rep. Don't get no rep because it's a wasted energy and wasted time that's not going to come back. So make sure that you're efficient and moving into the right standards. So moving on into tip number 10, which is the rest. So we planned some time and we added some rest time or intervals inside the workout when you set your time frame. So during that rest time, or even if you had to break the set at a certain point, make sure that you time that. And how to do that?
Yeah, even as an example, in your workout, in the open, we counted down the rest. So it wasn't planned before, but I knew if I gave Saif a limit, then he would stick to it. So I gave him 10 seconds rest when he was very tired, and it gives your brain a goal. So instead of just wandering around and sitting down, your coach says, okay, 10 seconds, I'm gonna count down. So I counted down from 10 seconds, and then he was ready to get back on the box or the bar or the dumbbell. So having someone count down your rest helps you move forward, I think.
Make sure that the rest is no more than 30 seconds. If it's more than 30 seconds, it's too much.
Yeah.
I would suggest, depending on the move and on your capacity, it's about 15 to 5 seconds, it depends. Especially if you're deciding to break up the sets, like for example, if you have 16 muscle up, like in the second Open of 2017, and you know that's gonna fatigue you, and you're planning to do them in couplets or in singles. So make sure like you have a certain amount of fixed amount of rest each time, like 5 seconds, count down for 5 seconds, or have your judge or coach count down for you, and then go immediately into a second attempt or the second rep, or whatever your goal is. And moving on into the tip number 11, which is logistics and equipment arrangement and your flow in the workout or during the WOD, which is really important to save time.
Yeah, this one's easy. So we want you to put the bar, the weights, the pull-up bar, the rower, the box, whatever apparatus or apparati is in your workout, put it close together. So don't put your rower on the other side of the gym and run to the pull-up bar. Put it right next to it. This will cut down a lot on your time, actually, especially in workouts where you have to change the weight. So stage your weight, we say, put it all right in front of your barbell so that you don't have to be running around trying to get stuff when the time comes. So stage your weights and your equipment all near each other.
The last tip, which is tip number 12, to drop attitude and lose your ego. That's really important, especially if you're like getting no reps by your judge. Like, don't have an attitude for him. He's only doing his job, and you did a no rep, so you deserve it. Anyway. Yeah,
I think I see a lot of inexperienced or younger athletes get really angry when they get no repped. In all actuality, even if the judge is wrong, take a deep breath and do it again. When you spend your energy getting angry, it actually boosts your adrenaline. Yeah, and so your heart rate's gonna go up. If you're throwing your rope and you're missing double unders, then it's more time to go get your rope and start again. So don't get angry. If you get no repped consistently by your judge, it would even be good to just take a minute and say, what's wrong? So you can ask. That takes less energy than getting angry. So even games athletes get no repped, but you'll see games athletes adjust. They don't get angry. So even the best of all of us miss a rep or don't do a movement properly. Just take time and try to do it with more virtuosity, and ask your judge if you don't understand.
Try not to compete yourself, to compare yourself to others, people around you. It's easy to fall into what others are doing. Just be with your own capacity and your own body. Listen to your own body. Be focused, and it's okay if the person next to you started like to move forward and you're still behind. It's okay. You can move on the last trip, or when you're sprinting, just stick to your strategy that you know it's gonna get you somewhere. So these were the tips, the major tips, 12 tips, but here are some few tips that has nothing to do with the actual workout or the movement. Have enough sleep.
Yes.
At least two nights before the actual competition, so just make sure to sleep for about 7.5 to 8 hours.
All the time, not just before the competition.
If it's not a habit, just make sure to have that before you work out the competition time. And then about nutrition. Can you tell us more about nutrition?
Yeah, I think 100% of the time you should have great nutrition, but especially before a competition, make sure you drink enough water. Don't have too much sugar.
Don't have sugar at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can have natural sugars like fruit and sweet potatoes and simple carbohydrates like white rice and white potatoes, but eating sugar affects your brain. It affects your muscles, and it's very inflammatory.
Well, speaking of nutrition as well, like when is the good time to have the last meal before the workout or the competition time?
It depends on the time domain. Usually, like before the longer time domain workouts that are about 20 minutes long and it's more a metabolic conditioning kind of workout, I won't eat for about 2 or 3 hours before the workout. If it's a very quick workout, like a 3 to 5 minute time domain, you can eat closer to a quick workout. It depends who you are, and I would experiment with it in training for sure.
And the last but not least tip that I would do, and Jaala would do as well, which is having showers. I would shower with really cold water before the warm up and immediately after the workout. So why is that important?
Cold showers do a few things. They get your heart beating faster, right? And they also stimulate your blood flow so that you have more blood flowing to your muscles. When your body is cold, you want to warm up, right? So it's a natural physiological response to increase your blood flow. So it's great to do it before an event, and it's great to do it after an event because it stimulates recovery.
So that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to hear back from you. So try these tips and tell us what you think, and if you have other tips, why not write them down in the comments section below. So let me hear back from you, and I know that these worked for me. I have tried them, and Jaala has witnessed that even. She's a more experienced athlete again. Thank you. And so we'll see you again on another video. Thanks.
Bye.